Hello, and welcome back to my series on Dredge, and how their interpretation of different fishes matches up to their real-life counterparts. This episode, we're discussing the Stellar Basin, my personal favorite region in the game due to all the pretty colors and bright lights. Now, something that I need to discuss quickly before we get into this is the rod system. I haven't mentioned it yet because the three rods before were vague and non-specific, but these two are important. Abyssal and Hadal rods, and the reason why it's important is because those two words are very specific when it comes to fishes and where they live, as these are specific regions in the ocean, and if a fish is labeled as Abyssal or Hadal, but it doesn't live in that region, I think that's worth pointing out. After all, what's the point in having, that fish be in that rod category if it doesn't actually live there, when you could have just used one that did live there. But let's get into it. I'm really hopeful though, because this is my favorite region, so let's hope things are very accurate and really nice. Oh dear God, what a start. This doesn't exist. There is no such thing called the Aurora jellyfish. I couldn't find anything called it. I couldn't find any common name. I couldn't find any extinct jellyfish called it. As far as I'm aware, this is a completely fictitious jellyfish. And that's pretty disappointing, considering it's the only one in the game you can actually catch. So, the only jellyfish in the entirety of the game that you can, sell, it doesn't even exist. So that's great. This is a great start. But I'm not done with this thing. You see, it's not just that it doesn't exist. This thing that is on my screen right now does not even follow the basic fundamentals of what a jellyfish is supposed to look like. You see these big, fat, rectangular ribbon strands going on? Those are supposed to be its oral arms. These are the things that have its stinging cells, which are used to catch food. As far as I could tell, there is no jellyfish with oral arms that look anything remotely like this. For starters, I haven't seen any of them that are just straight up like ribbons like this. So that's one thing. Number two, they appear to be too far out from the center of the jellyfish's bell. It could be the angle, but from what it seems to be on the edge like the rest of the smaller tentacles are, which is just wrong. Like, why you make a new jellyfish, but you don't even make it resemble a jellyfish's basic fundamental biology? On top of that, what's going on inside of its bell? There's these two little mountain things. I think maybe that's supposed to be its gonads. I don't know, but quite frankly, I haven't seen one that looks like that either. It gets a 0. I don't think that's surprising. Not only is it just completely fictitious, as far as I'm aware, that this doesn't exist, but I think the oral arms are the thing that really just throws me off about it. The way it's designed and shaped, it kind of looks like an arts and craft project. And I'm not trying to discredit the artists, but the way the oral arms are shaped, it looks like someone made this instead of it being a living creature. Oh boy, this is another fish that is given a vague name that encompasses a family. Luckily, it's only two, and they're very similar, and it's pretty obvious this is a common fangtooth, due to the fact that it apparently reaches the abyssal zone from time to time, which, hey, this is an abyssal rodfish, so it makes sense that out of the two, this is the one that would be based off of. Fun fact, the fangtooth apparently has the largest fangs to body ratio of any fish. I couldn't actually find a source of how big the fangs are, but apparently that's true. Now, just as a heads up, there's probably not going to have many fun facts about this fish and a lot of the other ones coming up, because a lot of them are deep sea creatures and we just don't know that much about them. So just a quick heads up about that. Moving on to Dredge's interpretation of the fangtooth, it's a mixed bag and it's a little weird. For starters, it's a bit too tall and round, to make it fit in the single tile, which it is in this game. And another thing is that its fangs are a little too small. At least its front fangs are. They should probably be a little bit bigger, considering that's the whole point of this fish. But I mean, they are still pretty big. Now, the biggest thing that came to my attention when I was researching this is its color. I could not find any consistent coloring. I keep hearing that it's blacker than black, that this whole thing that it's black, but I also see images of it being this pale orange, and also illustrations of it being this pale orange. So I don't know what it's supposed to be. If it's supposed to be black, or if it's supposed to be this pale orange. Keep in mind, this is a deep sea creature. This discoloration thing could be any number of reasons. It could be sexual dimorphism, it could be it being brought up from the depths, it could be anything. I don't know what it is, but I don't know if I can put that against the Dredge team if they chose one over the other. I would say it's supposed to be black. Probably it would have been the safer bet, but I can't say for absolute certain. I would say Dredge's version of the Fangtooth is pretty good. Aside from the name not being super specific, and its color maybe being wrong, but I'm not entirely sure, and I think the fang size is probably the biggest issue. I think it's fairly fine. I think a 7 would probably be fine. The color is the thing that I'm just really confused about. I don't know if the color's right. I think it's fine, though. Oh boy, another vague name. This is an entire family that encompasses like 9 genuses, I'm pretty sure. However, this one was actually super easy to pin down, as it's very obviously the Pacific barrel eye. I'm pretty sure. I'm fairly sure. When you think of a barrel eye, this is what comes to mind, at least from what I've found. On to some fun facts about this little guy. Let's talk about the elf in the room. Its weird head and its weird eyes. Apparently the reason why it has developed this is because its eyes being inside of a clear dome actually protects it from jellyfish and stinging medusas, things like that would hurt its eyes, because that's actually its primary food source. Stealing food from those types of creatures. Essentially what it will do is it'll be near the bottom of where it likes to hang out, or at least not near the bottom, but below where its food likes to be. Its eyes will be facing upwards through its clear head. It will find them through either glowing or the silhouette formed by light refracting in its eyes. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I'm not entirely sure. The eyes are really confusing. It'll go up there, it'll steal food, and then it'll leave. The design of Dredge's barrel eye is genuinely perfect. I mean, look at it. That's just a barrel eye. When you think of a barrel eye, this is what you're probably thinking of. Again, I don't like the fact that it isn't specified that this is a specific barrel eye. You need to be consistent if it's species names or just general names. But besides that, this is generally perfect, except for one little thing. Remember that when I told you about the rods of Dredge and how 2 of them were based off of actual measurable depths? In this game, the barrel eye is labeled under the abyssal rod. Barrel eyes are found about 2,000 feet. That's the twilight zone. There's another zone in between it. So like, it's not even close. There's so much space in between them. Why is this an abyssal fish? I don't understand. Okay, but aside from that, this design's just it's genuinely so good, dude. It's so good. I'm gonna give it a 9. Again, the only problem is that the rod category is just straight up wrong, and it should specify its name. Yeah, baby! Finally, a fish that actually tells us its specific name, because a firefly squid is an actual specific creature name. Yes, let's go. On to some fun facts about this little guy. Or should I say massive, because he comes in at a whopping 3 inches, which is just truly colossal. But aside from that, we actually don't really know why they glow. We have theories, of course. There's 2 main ones, being that it's for communication with each other, or it's for attracting prey. I think both is probably what's going on here. I don't see why it has to be one or the other. And considering how smart squids are, I would say communication would be more likely of the 2 if it could only be one. But aside from that, there's one thing I want to mention that this game actually gets super correct. When these guys are ready to lay their eggs, they come to the surface, they lay their eggs, and they die near the coast. This game has the firefly squid as a coastal fish, and it even mentions it coming to the surface to die. So this probably means that all the ones we catch are actually female. Now, onto its accuracy. I think this is a 10 out of 10, honestly. From its size to its coloring, from its encyclopedia entry when it mentions its life cycle dying thing, to its rod type. I think it's genuinely perfect. This is one-to-one what a firefly squid is. And we have another example of a vague name that applies to multiple different species. I think this is supposed to be the southern red snapper. I could be wrong, but the size and the color matches up pretty well, so I'm just gonna say it's that one. Couldn't find any interesting facts about the red snapper, really. It's a popular eating fish, I guess. And it's overfished, and because of that, it's protected in many places. It's not really fun, but, you know, it's definitely a fact, I guess. Onto Dredge's design of the red snapper. I think its color is fine. From what I can see, the colors of red snappers tend to be very varied. So, like, regardless of species, too, including this other one. So I think this one's mostly silver look with orangish red at the top is fine. But its tail is a problem. It's very, very crescent-shaped when it should be more of a dustpan look to it. And then there's also the dorsal fin. Dredge's design is entirely spine ray fins, while in real life it's like half and half. The back half should be more of a soft rays. I think Dredge's design of the red snapper is pretty fine. The dorsal and tail fin are an issue, but everything else is relatively okay. I'm gonna give it an 8. It's pretty spot on. Next is the giant amphipod, and hey, we got a specific species name. To be fair, I don't think any other amphipod even comes close to being in size, so I don't think they could even mix it up if they wanted to. On to fun facts. The giant amphipod, as its name implies, is massive, at a whopping foot long. Which isn't that big until you realize that normal amphipods are usually less than an inch long. So size truly is relative. This is because of deep-sea gigantism, a phenomenon that occurs when creatures are living deep underwater and they tend to be bigger than their shallow water relatives. We don't really know why, but we have theories. It could be due to low oxygen, low food, temperature, crushing depths. We don't really know for sure, but it could be several different things. Onto Dredge's design, it's actually kind of perfect. Visually, it's very clearly a giant amphipod. It's basically perfect, exception of it being less detailed due to the art style. Its depth is right, as it's in the Hoddle zone, and that's generally where we've discovered them to be. They even note that it's a scavenger in its encyclopedia, which is really nice that they actually mention some of its real-world ecology in there. I think it's very deserving of a 10. There really is no real problem with its design. I can't think of anything that couldn't be just attributed to its art style. I think anyone who knows what a giant amphipod is could look at this and say, yep, that's a giant amphipod. Next is the loose jaw, also known as the stoplight loose jaw. This is a little weird if it's a species name or not. There seems to be several types of dragonfish, which this is, by the way, that are called loose jaws, but it seems widely agreed upon when you just say a loose jaw, it seems to be widely agreed upon that is a stoplight loose jaw. So I can't really blame the Dredge team for just calling it a loose jaw, but again, it would have been nice if they specified. On to fun facts. Its bottom jaw is about a quarter of its total body length, and the reason why it's so big is apparently so it can eat food with little resistance. With little water resistance, rather. I don't really get how that works, but, I mean, it does. But I think the more interesting thing about the loose jaw isn't actually its jaw, but rather its bioluminescence. As far as I'm aware, it and similar species of dragonfish are the only ones that produce red bioluminescence, and the reason why they do this is they essentially use it as a flashlight, hunting for creatures using this red bioluminescence, which apparently only they can see, which is really cool. On to Dredge's design. Oh boy, where do I start? For starters, the jaw is just too big. It should be about a quarter of its body length, not like double it, essentially, or its entire body length. but obviously I think that can be attributed to stylization, sort of. Its dorsal and anal fins should probably have soft rays instead of these very obvious spines, so that's another problem. But another thing that's an issue is its depth. The loose jaw in this game is an abyssal fish. In real life, it is found at about 1,600 feet deep. The abyssal zone is not even remotely close to that. It's like 10,000 feet deep more. That's just horribly wrong. That's way too far for you to just group it into the abyssal zone. There's another zone in the middle of that. I'm gonna give it a 7, and I'm being generous. I think someone could definitely recognize this as a loose jaw, but I think that its depth being wrong is just it's so stupid, man. Oh dear God. This may be the worst example so far that we've seen of a vague name. Snailfish is a description of a family that has just over 30 genuses, some of which have multiple species, because that's how genuses work. Some of those multiple species being like over 10. Great. And I'm gonna be real, I didn't find one that really matches up to this. This is the closest one I found. I think it's supposed to be a dim disc snailfish. At least that's what it's speculated to be. It's not even guaranteed. There's one that's found in the Hadal Zone. That's the deepest fish ever pulled up that's been documented, apparently. That's cool. Maybe it's that one, considering it's a Hadal fish in this game. But I don't know, because it doesn't tell me. Oh dear God. Like, why? Why do some fish get a specific name and other ones get something so incredibly vague that there is no reasonable way I can figure it out? I'm not even gonna rate it, to be honest. I don't see the point. I don't know what it could be. It's probably the dim disc, but I don't know, because I have to guess. Anyway, here's a bumpy snailfish. Isn't he cute? The coral grouper. Hey look, this is a specific species. Yay! Yippee! I don't have to spend 3 hours trying to find it. On to fun facts. Coral groupers are actually pretty stock standard for groupers, other than them being totally gorgeous. They're ambush predators that like to hide around rocks and coral to eat small fish. They live in shallow waters. They like rockier areas. Stuff like that. They also have harems for like up to 12 coral groupers, which is neat. I did not know fish did that, but I guess fish are players too. On to Dredge's design, and it has some problems. For starters, it's way too tall. Coral groupers are, normal fish shaped. I don't know why it has to be so tall. Its dorsal fin is flat out just wrong. It's this weird big fat one. I don't think I've seen any fish with a dorsal fin like that, although it could be wrong. And it definitely doesn't look like a grouper's, as the front half should be spikier and the back half should be rounded off, and it should be a little separated a little bit. It's missing a pelvic fin. Just straight up, it does not have that. And its anal fin should be longer. As much as I love the coral grouper, it's a 7 at best. The fins are just wrong. Like, there's really no defending it. I mean, like, only 2 of them are correct, and even then they're the most basic ones. But everything else is pretty good. The coloration's perfect. It's the right depth. It's just a stock standard grouper. It's kind of hard to mess up, so I think 7's nice. Okay, this one is a bit of an enigma, because there isn't a creature called the glowing octopus, but there's something called the glowing tentacle octopus. But as you can clearly see, this looks nothing like Dredge's design, remotely, even vaguely. So I don't think it's meant to be this. However, the coconut octopus does look very, very similar to it, despite not being called the glowing octopus. And, well, it also doesn't have bioluminescence. Its suckers are just blue. On to some fun facts about the coconut octopus, because I am going to interpret Dredge's design as a coconut octopus, because I feel like that's what they saw an image of a coconut octopus. But anyway, onto fun facts. Like most octopuses, they're very intelligent. These ones are actually get their name because they often use coconut shells as hiding holes and for protection. This one is using a clam shell, for example. He probably already ate that little sucker, but they're smart and they use a lot of tools. And I'm not entirely sure, but I think this one has like some of the most documented tool use out of any octopus. As for ranking Dredge's design, it's pretty hard because on one hand, its name is just wrong. Again, this is assuming it's a coconut octopus. Its name is just wrong, but it does pretty much look like one. If we're just going off its still image, then I would say it's a 9. But the fact that it has bioluminescence when it doesn't have bioluminescence in real life is a problem because that's like a massive thing. So I'm gonna give this a 7 because I think someone could guess this as a coconut octopus just by going off its image. But if they knew in game it glows, I don't think anyone would guess it as that. I think they would guess it as an original design. This is the anglerfish. Anglerfish is not a specific species, it's a group. I think it's a family, I'm pretty sure. Encompasses many different genuses, I'm pretty sure. And this one is specifically a football fish. It's the one that you think of when you think of an anglerfish. You know, the ones that have the little lures and live in the deep ocean. I couldn't find one that matches this. I just couldn't. Its lure is way too simple and long. Its teeth are too big and out. Its fins seem wrong. But what I do know for absolute certainty, well, not really absolute certainty, mostly certain, is that they don't go into the abyssal zone. And this fish is an abyssal fish in this game for some reason. As far as I can tell, they reach like the bath zone. I can't pronounce it. But they don't go to abyssal. So I'm gonna give this like a, I'm not even gonna rate it. There's no point. It's too simple and vague. On to Barracuda, and shocker, Barracuda is not a species of fish, but it's a genus of 26 species. Yay! And the problem, I had a couple issues trying to figure out which one it's supposed to be, because of the stripes on the side being so sharp and angular. I couldn't really find one that has stripes like this. I think it's supposed to be a great barracuda due to its coloration and size, and due to the fact that it's probably the most well-known barracuda. I did see that the sawtooth barracuda sort of has stripes like this, but it's the wrong color and there's too many of them. So I think it's supposed to be a great barracuda. On to fun facts. The great barracuda is generally around like 3 to 4 feet from what I could find, but apparently one was found to be almost 10 feet long, which is insane. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but that's what I've read. And apparently they can reach like 36 miles per hour as well. I'm not entirely sure about that because I remember that at a certain point the speed in which we thought fish moved was lowered because it was like we were just wrong about it, but I don't know if that's accurate or not. And apparently the great barracuda is technically an apex predator. Again, not entirely sure about that one either, but I mean it does sound right. On to Dredge's interpretation of a barracuda. And it's mostly fine, however, its barring, or whatever it's called, is a bit of an issue. I couldn't find one that has this barring, not a single one. The great barracuda just straight up doesn't have barring. From what I've seen, it has like splotches on the side sometimes, but it doesn't have any form of stripes or anything like this. I've seen other ones that have this, but none of them look like this. They're too sharp and angular. But aside from that, it's actually pretty good and accurate. It's the right shape, its fins are the right shape. It actually has the right amount of dorsal fins, which actually surprised me, because I thought it only had one for a while, looking at some images of them swimming around. So I'm gonna give this an 8, due to the fact that the striping is just weird. On to hammerhead shark. Hammerheads are a family. Luckily, there's only 2 genuses, and one of those genuses only has a single species in it, and I could tell very clearly that it wasn't that one. So it wasn't that annoying to track down, but it was still kind of annoying. I think it's supposed to be a great hammerhead, because of its size of around 10 feet, none of them really match up, and you're gonna see that very soon why. On to fun facts. The reason why hammerheads have hammerheads is for two main reasons. Number one, sharks have electroreceptors. They're like little sensory organs on their snoots. And hammerheads have a lot more of these, and I think they're more sensitive too. And they use these to like hunt for rays and stuff. And the reason why their head is so wide is because they have more space for them. The other reason is for their eyes. Their eyes are supposed to be placed on the side of their heads. This gives them a very good range of vision. A superior range of vision compared to basically any other shark. I'm gonna be real, Dredge's design fucking sucks. For starters, its color is just wrong. I could not find a hammerhead that has this grayish blue color. And especially the great hammerhead definitely does not have it. It's always a darker gray, almost black, or brown. The biggest issue, however, is its head. It is egregiously wrong. Its eyes are forward. I beg your finest pardon. What? The entire point of this head shape, well, one of the entire points, is the eyes being on the side. Why are they in the front? They look like fucking snails or some shit. Like, on top of it, they're facing forward too. Can you name like a single like shark that has its eyes facing forward? Do you know how cursed that is? It's weird. And then the middle section, I don't know what it's called. I probably should have looked it up. It's so angular. They're supposed to be nice and rounded soft, and there shouldn't be that much of a gap between the eye area and the and like that main midsection. Like it shouldn't be sticking out that much. And I'm gonna be real, you really fucked up your design if Hungry Shark Evolution unironically has a more accurate design than you. Like, come on, dude. Seriously? You get bait by them? I'm gonna give this a fucking 0. I'm gonna be real. Yes, you could guess this as a hammerhead. Of course you could. You draw a shark, you give it a weird head, it's a fucking hammerhead. But you fucked up the most important part of this creature. Its face. Its head. Its cute little face. It messed up its eyes, and I just can't do anything better than a 0. This fish with a receding hairline is the mahi-mahi, also known as the dolphin fish. And yes, finally, we're back to a fish that tells us its specific species name. Yes, finally. On to fun facts. The mahi-mahi is a very common sporting fish and also eating one. Apparently it's flaky, but tastes good and is used in a lot of places. And luckily it seems its population is in good health, despite this fact, which is, always good to see. I think Dredge's design is really good. It's basically perfect. This is very clearly a mahi-mahi. I think anyone could guess that. The only real problem is its anal fin is a little too big, and it probably should be yellow. Maybe I'm just jaded or something, and I'm in total shock after the hammerhead, and I'm just being really nice, but I don't really care that much. You know what? No, it is a problem. Just because the hammerhead was really bad, that doesn't mean this one gets a pass. I'm gonna give it a 9. It's almost perfect, but the anal fin should probably be smaller. On to the tripod spiderfish. Probably one of the most unique fish that Dredge decided to add. It's an abyssal fish, which is actually accurate. Very cool, very nice. Its most notable feature is the fact that it's pelvic fins, I believe, and its tail fin are extended so it can stand on the sea floor and either filter feed when it's young and be an ambush predator when it's older. On to Dredge design, I think it's genuinely really good. The only real problem I have with it is the color. I think it's supposed to be like white and pale, but I'm not entirely sure. Abyssal creatures or like deep sea creatures in general are always weird about like colors. I always feel incredibly hard to pin down, but I think it should probably be white considering this is an abyssal one. I'm gonna give it a 9. It's almost perfect. Onto the crown of thorns starfish. It's a very large starfish, very colorful too. It feeds on coral, shell things like that. And it's covered in many venomous spines all over its body, which gives it its name, by the way. Named after the crown of thorns from the Bible. I believe the venom is hemaglytic. I think that's how you say it. I could be remembering it wrong. It's the one that makes it so like your blood cells don't clot, so you can like bleed out more, essentially, and it causes a lot of pain too. I think Dredge's design for the Crown of Thorns is basically perfect. The only real issue you could have with it is its number of legs. It should be like a bit higher, honestly. From what I can tell, apparently they're supposed to have like around 20 legs, I believe, like 20, 21, around that. But I'm actually going to give them a bit of a pass for this, because I can understand that cramming that many legs into this one model while still making it look nice would be kind of hard. And also, you could easily justify its lesser amount of legs by saying, like, they got removed by, like, a predator or something, you know? So it isn't that bad. I want to give it a 10, honestly. I'm giving it a pass. The blue crab is a very beautiful crab that is very commonly eaten in restaurants and stuff, and I'm pretty sure it's relatively global in terms of eating, although I do know it's very popular in North America. I don't really know why, though. As far as I can tell from what I've researched, it tastes basically the same as every other crab around the size and range that it is in. So I don't really know why it's so popular. I think it's literally just for the novelty of eating something so pretty. And that's literally it, which is kind of funny when you remember that it ultimately ends up the same color anyway when it gets boiled. But there's really not much to say about the blue crab in terms of like things that are interesting. It is kind of just a blue crab. It can swim, but a lot of crabs can do that. It's found in the Atlantic. There's that, I guess. As for Dredge's design, I think it's pretty perfect. The only thing is really wrong about it is that it's kind of missing the spikes that it has on the shell, especially on the far sides, but everything seems right. The leg count's right. It's got the claws that are with the red tips. It's got the swimmer legs in the back. You may be wondering about the color, but as far as I can tell, they come in many different colors, like of ranging and shade. This one is not out of the question, I would say. It's not impossible. I honestly think I'm gonna give it a 10. The spikes are kind of a non-issue, and I'm kind of seeing them with those like red triangles. But I mean, they probably should be there, but it's a small detail, to be fair. The spiny lobster is next, and it's a family that contains 12 different genuses, a total of 60 different species. Fuck. Luckily for me, I'm pretty sure I already know what this is before I even looked into this. I think this is a Caribbean spiny lobster. I have seen a couple of videos about these guys, and I'd say it matches up pretty well. The blue on the tail fluke is what really gives it away to me. I think it is just that, but more saturated. Just some fun facts about spiny lobsters. For starters, I'm pretty sure they're not actually true lobsters. I think they're related. I think they're in the same clade, but they're not the same. They don't have claws, for example. And I think they have a different larval stage, so I don't think they're actually truly lobsters. Another thing that they do is they apparently travel in large groups sometimes, about to like 50 on the seafloor. They can navigate using the Earth's electromagnetic poles, I think. Maybe, because of course they can. And the thing that's probably most well known about them is that they'll rub their antennae together and make a loud noise to scare off predators. As for Dredge's design, I think it's mostly fine. I think the colors are a bit too saturated, but it's not that big of a deal, and I think it's maybe missing a pair of legs. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it could be. I'm gonna give it a 9. It's mostly fine, just a couple small things, really. On to the sea slug. Do you know how many sea slugs there are? How many species? How many nudibranchs there are? 3,000. There are 3,000 nudibranchs. And this motherfucker doesn't look like any of them. There are 2 that I found that sort of resemble this one. There's the Anne's Magnificent Sea Slug, and then there's the like neon something or other sea slug. Neither of them really look like it because the colors are weird. But they're the closest I found. Now, you know those two pictures I just showed you of those sea slugs? Did you notice something about them that this one does not have? The big thing sticking out of its back. Those are its gills. Why doesn't this thing have gills? Like, unless I'm missing something, why doesn't it have gills? Like, serious? There's not that many fucking moving parts to this thing, you know? There's like 4 things, if I'm being generous, something outside of a sea slug that they all have gills. You forgot the gills? I'm giving this thing a fucking 0. Number 1, for not having gills on a sea creature is just weird. And also, calling it a sea slug. I think this is legit, by the way, just an original design. I don't think it's based off of anything. I refuse to believe this is an interpretation of the 2 things I showed you. Just fuck you for calling this thing a sea slug. There's 3,000 of them. That's so vague. In conclusion, I'm pretty disappointed in the Stellar Basin. I had pretty high hopes considering it's my favorite region in the game, but there's a lot of bad ones in here. The biggest offenders, in my opinion, are probably the jellyfish, the great hammerhead, the sea slug, and was there another one? I'm tired, sorry. But then there was also a couple of good ones, you know, like the great isopod and the firefly squid, things like that. So it wasn't all bad. It was truly a mixed bag. But I feel like the ones that were bad were uniquely bad, you know? They were missing like blatant parts of their anatomy and things like that. But well, you know, you can't have all good things, I guess. Let's hope the Twisted Strand is better. I'm sure there won't be anything super annoying to research like the sea slug. I'm sure there's nothing there that is incredibly vague that will it's like its name is like several thousand species, right? That definitely won't happen, right? Right?